Hello?
Hello, Barry, we can hear you.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
We are Africa Nenda. Nenda means go in Swahili, and this is exactly why we are here. We want to accelerate the expansion of access to low-cost instant payment systems to Africans all across the continent and accelerate their financial inclusion, which is an essential need in order for Africa to flourish. We work so that everybody in Africa, especially the financially excluded, will be able to make and receive a payment immediately at a low cost, regardless of where they are on the continent. We believe that instant and inclusive payment systems can play a pivotal role in creating universal access to financial services for many financially excluded adults and are critical to achieving universal financial inclusion in Africa by 2030. We intend to unlock these untapped opportunities to drive financial inclusion by advancing national and regional instant payments infrastructure. We do that through firstly providing pre-project support to leverage private capital into investment-ready inclusive instant payments projects, and secondly, strengthening capacity for and knowledge of instant payments in Africa's most influential institutions, partnering with the existing payments and digital financial services ecosystem. We are an independent African-led organization created to accelerate the growth of instant and inclusive payment systems that will benefit all Africans, including the poorest and currently financially excluded. Our team brings together experts in digital payments and leaders with regional expertise to support African institutions, governments, and the private sector. The time is now to scale financial inclusion through instant and inclusive payment systems. Join us. We are Africa Nenda.
Hi, my name is Robert.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session. We are really happy to host you today for a 1-hour session on the State of Instant and Inclusive Payment System report. My name is Berry, and I'm the Community Engagement Lead and Social Media for Africa Nenda. Before moving, maybe I would like my Francophone friends to know that interpretation is available for this session. So you can select your language at the bottom, the bar of Zoom. For this afternoon, we will have a deep dive session on the eKash case study. And it's a pleasure to welcome Aimable Rukundo, who is the Chief Digital Innovation and Project at eKash Rwanda. Aimable will take us through the eKash journey, how it started, how it's going now, what are some of the challenges, some of the learnings they have in this project. And to lead the conversation, we will have our own Sabine Mensah, who will ask questions to Aimable. But before we start, I want to share with you some housekeeping rules to make this webinar smooth for everyone. Next slide, please. So this webinar is for 1 hour, and we'll have 2 parts. The first part will be basically presentation from Aimable with the question from Sabine Mensah, and it will last half an hour, and then we will have we will open the floor for you to ask any question. To have a smooth experience with the webinar, we have muted all micros, so you won't be able to unmute yourself, but we want the webinar to be interactive. So feel free to use the chat box in the Q&A session, the Q&A for any question you have, and then the chat for any comment during the presentation. or in case of technical issues. Of course, at the end of this webinar, we will share with you the presentation as well as the recording for replay, or even for you to just share within your network. So that said, I will hand over to Sabine to start the webinar. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Barry. Truly appreciate it. I'd like to welcome all the participants in this webinar. We truly appreciate the time that you're going to give us to discuss instant payment system. For those who are not in the industry or want to understand the difference between instant payment system and inclusive payment system, I thought it would be a good way to start on that point, and also a good way to present a bit the work that African Nenda is doing, particularly with regards to the State of Inclusive Instant Payment System report, which is an annual report that we put out to the ecosystem with the intention to landscape these instant payment system, but also facilitate peer learning through specific case studies. And today is the deep dive for the Rwanda case study. And really thank you for all of you for being here with us. From when we're saying instant payment system, we're really looking at retail payment systems that are digital push. I send you. So I am pushing that transaction, and these payments are available 24/7, 365 days, as close as possible. So if I'm sitting here in Nairobi and I'm able to send money to my colleague, Jacqueline was here also in using my mobile wallet, that is an example of an instant payment system. But when we move to inclusive instant payment system, we are really bringing different layers into that equation. One layer around the regulators and their role in enabling all license payments providers to come into that inclusive instant payment system. Another area is to facilitate interoperability, of course. And if we're looking at it from a provider's side, is the capability of these providers and participants to offer as many services as possible and open as many channels, as many products and services and instruments. And last but not least, when we're looking at the consumer, because at the end of the day, we're doing all of this to serve the consumer. We want to make sure that these systems are low cost, they are accessible to all, and they have a recourse mechanism when things are not working the way they do. But enough said on that. I think the most important, the meat of the session is really to hear from EMAB, to hear the journey of Rwanda in the process, and what the lessons that we can learn from that. So starting right away, Emab, allow me to ask you if you can tell us a bit about our switch, eKash, and what the journey has been since you started. Emab, to you.
Thank you, Sabine. Audience online, happy to present the journey. And thank you for the opportunity and support of African Nenda for this webinar. My name is Emable Rukundo. I'm the Chief Digital Innovation. I look after projects, and I lead the team at our switch for implementation and scheme operations. And for the good question of Sabine, the journey started back in 6 years, well, in 2018, when National Bank of Rwanda, alongside with the industry, they were commissioned to define a business model for an interoperability retail payment system. It's named Rwanda National Digital Payment System, RNDPS, but it's commonly known as eKash, as Sabine well mentioned it. That is a branding name, but the main purpose of it is to bring the interoperability of retail systems. The industry with the government defined the use case with priorities, and they established guidelines and the implementation steps to implement the system, and also the governance side of it. So our switch was mandated to run the system and also to manage the scheme. As you know, payment systems is a regulated business. So we were required to make a final, irrevocable, inclusive payment system. So eKash had a primary mission to establish a system, an efficient, inclusive retail payment system infrastructure that is centralized and shared, available for everyone, of course, regulated players, and of course, establish a robust governance frameworks that will make a success story on the payment industry. We had initial 6 key principles. The primary one was transparency and clarity, where we make participants know the journey and contribute to the journey. The second is fairness and non-discrimination. Everyone is allowed to join the scheme, but of course there are conditions that I will present at a later stage. And of course, we had to provide security. As you know, payment should be secure. We should prevent all the fraud, money laundering, and all security related to the financial systems. The system should be efficient and provide efficiency and speed. We should be scalable based on the requirements that the government set to us. And also we should make sure we include everyone. As I said, we are mandated to do both scheme management and system operator. We provide strategy guidance to the participants. Those are banks, SACCOs, microfinance. Some of them don't have strong knowledge in the payment system. We guide them and we educate them. We facilitate the collaboration. We call up the meetings. Everyone counts, and then we agree on a different agenda. We also manage diversity. You know, we have small players, we have big players, we have mobile money operators. We manage the diversity and make sure the system is accessible to everyone. We set and enforce the operating rules. As you know, the payment systems should be operated in set of rules. Everyone should abide with the rules, and I will take you through the process of onboarding, where we make sure everyone signs and agreed on with the rules. And of course, we provide and publish reports. And on the side of system, we make sure the system is operated with caution. It's available 99.99%. And we make sure we collaborate whenever we have an incident, and everyone is inclusive to participate. Over to you, Sabine, for more questions.
Emma, thank you very much. So I'm hearing you are the technical operational engine behind the commercial scheme named eKash, which is enabling the ecosystem in Rwanda to come together and serve consumer. You know, earlier when I was talking about inclusivity, I mentioned the key role that regulators play in the ecosystem, the environment that shapes, you know, how the instant payment system is going to be operating. They also have a great weight in influencing the governance within that ecosystem. So I'd be curious to hear from you, what are the governance arrangements for eKash? What can you tell us about, you know, the role of the regulators as well?
Right. We are mandated to set up a very strong governance structure and inclusive governance structure. The decision is really informed, and everyone contributes to their roles. Down here, we have our SIIPS management that look after the scheme management, secretariat, and system operations. And these functions, we have different board subcommittees that we report to and make sure our board of directors guide us and contribute to proper governance of the system. On the top, we have system oversight. where we have a regulator, a payment system regulator, National Bank of Rwanda. We have NCSA that looks after data protection and of course the cybersecurity. We have to make sure the data we host is secure. And we have RICA, which is in charge of consumer protection. As I said, the governance should be inclusive and transparency as our key principles. On the other side, we are also accountable to the government of Rwanda. We have government agency where we report to, and also we have our funders. Thank you for Africa Nenda for being one of them. And we are also having steering committee meetings that hold all government agency with our switch, with the regulator representative to discuss on the plan and also have a decision made on key items. On the other side, we also, as I said, we need to be enough inclusive. We have participant forum where we have representative of each participants group, either small groups, microfinance, SACCO, fintechs, but also bigger groups as banks or mobile money operators. And we also hold a user forum, end user forum, where they discuss about what can we do better to serve the end users. And of course, as I said, we do abide with governance, with the regulatory framework. But as I said, all in all, everyone to participate need to abide with rules. We have a set of rules that we have put together. One of them, go to the next slide, please. We have, our rules are set where we have a general scheme rules that include governance structure, decision-making processes, conflict management, dispute management, all the rules that govern are defined there. We have annexes that goes with scheme rules. Those include user operating rules. Those ones are very specific to different use cases, depending on the scenario. We define business and legal basis and execution rules. And we also have different guidelines, dispute resolution processes, user experience, brand risk management framework, and all related to the pricing, where we put together the guideline depending on the use case, but also on different scenarios. And of course, we abided with different standards. Those are the QR code standard, the ISO 20022 that we use for messaging. And also we are also implementing a merchant categorization standard. And whenever we have a new standard, we present it to the participants, and then we abide to it under the scheme management. And of course, I can't live beside the legal and regulatory guidance that we get from our regulator. Next slide. We have a set of laws that National Bank has given out for us to manage the scheme, to help for proper governing the payment system. We have inclusion of payment initiation system, like the set of rules that guide PISPs and payment aggregators. We are required to adopt on principle of financial market infrastructure, known as PFIMS. And we have criteria for designation. There is a new law that we need to comply with a system designation by the central bank. RNDPS was classified as prominent important system that we need to abide with rules that govern the designated system in that category. We are also required to abide with the data protection law in Rwanda, which is very strong. We need to make sure data at rest is protected, data in transit is protected, to make sure our consumer data protection is considered. Of course, we have other legal instruments, that is ICT law, cybersecurity laws that we abide with to make sure we are operating in the secure and well-governed environment.
Thank you very much, Emab. I mean, it is clear that the instant payment system doesn't exist in a vacuum. It is part of an ecosystem. This ecosystem has ruled that regulator set up an environment that enable the stakeholders to come together to better serve consumers. You know, I think part of the inclusivity, a key component as well is the interoperability of payment system, so that me, Sabine, in Nairobi, I am able to send money to somebody who is in Mombasa, and it doesn't matter if I am with provider A and that person is with provider B, or they are using a bank account and I'm using a mobile wallet. Interoperability at the end of the day, it's really enabling all-to-all transactions. So when you have access to the system, regardless of which instrument, which channel you're using, or which provider you're doing business with, you can transact with everybody else in the financial ecosystem. Now, I would like to know what the journey has been in Rwanda, because of course there are challenges that market participants face, and then what are the solutions that the eKash has been able to put together and how Rwanda has supported that. So to you, Emma, tell us a bit about that.
Thank you, Sabine. Like everywhere else, setting up new system is very challenging. The solution is there, but there are a lot of challenges that goes together with the solution. Go to the next slide, please.
Can we get to the next slide?
All right. We had a legacy system that was bilaterally included, if I may say, like all the big banks who went ahead and interconnect together, interconnect with mobile money operators. We have a scenario where MTN here had connected to all the banks. That is already playing a role, but we want to include everyone. This is a complex situation whereby you need a strong and heavy investment to integrate with everyone and maintain the integration. This goes with the cost, and that is subsequently translated to the cost of the transaction. So we thought of solving a problem by centralizing and make an open loop system that once you connect to it, you are basically connect to everyone with in ecosystem. With this, all MFIs, SACCOs, fintechs, all the small players will be connected to the central system and be able to integrate with everyone and transact end to end. This will be fairly and reasonable price to the end user. And this is the purpose of setting up a shared infrastructure, and it is instant and should be available 24/7. So the solution provided was really to give a small player a chance to play a role within the ecosystem. Next slide, please. So the journey was to implement all the use cases, but they are grouped into three main categories. The first category was to make sure the transfer are working, the ones Sabine was mentioning, like I can be able to send to Sabine, irrespective of which provider Sabine has, either mobile money or banks, and should be instant. The transfer, and we have payment acceptancy, whereby merchant would initiate the payment in terms of request to pay, or bill aggregators should be able to also do payment initiation and receive payment. And also another group, we have disbursement. As you can see on this graph, what you see in green is already in place. We have P2P that gives the chance of the entire ecosystem. You will see the number of banks, number of MNOs connected to us. We have P2P has bank to bank, wallet to wallet, bank to wallet, wallet to bank. And you have 15 players that are transacting instantly. We have overlay services that goes with P2P. First and foremost, we have payee confirmation, whereby a payer will be able to see if I'm sending Sabine money, I will be able to know if I entered the correct account or a correct phone number by confirming her names that are coming before pushing the transfer. We have payment confirmation, where in the end of transaction, Sabine will receive a message that Aimable sent her money, and Aimable will receive a confirmation that Sabine had received the fund. With that, I don't need to worry about either the money had reached to Sabine or go ahead and initiate calls. We had implemented the proxy lookup, whereby I don't have to know the entire account number for Sabine. Here in Rwanda, we have some banks that provide very complex account number. Some have 16-digit account. And with my featured phone, I can't be able to type the entire 16-digit account before the session expires. Then I will only send to Sabine 123, and she'll be able to receive the money on her account. With that, she protects herself, me knowing her account. I only use a proxy, or we call it eKash ID. All the channels in Africa, we are mainly using USSD. I think it's across everywhere in Africa. Reason being, it doesn't require internet. It doesn't require smartphones. And also it's quick. You don't have to have any application installed within your application. But also we serve mobile application channels and also internet banking. All these are channels that are provided by participants.
Please allow me to just quickly ask you the colors, because there are several colors on the screen, just for participants to understand the relevance of the colors.
So the color in green are already in production, are being used. And that is P2P and related overlay services. The color in blue are in test environment. We are doing user acceptance test. We are planning to roll them out in the next 2-3 months. End of October, that is when we plan to launch P2M, P2B, P2G, request to pay, and payment initiation. All this again will be part of payment acceptance, and will have similar overlay services that I've highlighted, and will also run on the payment channels. The one in this other color that are not green or blue, they're the one in pipeline that we are planning to implement in the near future. But all in all the use case should be live next year, mid next year, which is June 2025. Next slide, please. As I said, this is a regulated journey. We need to comply with the requirements, and also you don't register randomly. You have a wallet which is not licensed, and then you join the scheme. You are required to provide your company information, licensing and compliance certificates. You need to provide a strong business model that does not put us under risk. And also we assess technical and operational capability of each scheme member. And also you need to provide settlement account. Either you have a direct connected to the central bank where you have a settlement account, but indirect participants also have banks that provide the stands for them to fund them so that the settlement account of those banks are used.
Okay.
Over to you, Sabine.
Thank you very much, Amab. Amab, from the work that we have done at Africa Nenda and with the SIIPS report and all the research we've been doing for the past 3 years, consistently we see that deployments take time. And so I am curious to know what has been the implementation roadmap for eKash. Maybe you can give us an idea of the timelines as well.
All right. Thank you, Sabine, for this good question. So this is the processes for onboarding. You can skip this. The journey had been very interesting, and we enjoy it. One thing I forgot to mention is that all the use cases that I presented are being implemented over Mojalup, which is an open source system. Thank you again for Africa Nenda for funding us to implement the system using open source system. But it's going to be an interesting journey to roll out all the use cases on top of that technology. The journey started back 2022 in May. The plan was to launch the interoperability between mobile money operators. Interestingly, we had only two in Rwanda. I don't know about your country, but mainly MTN and Airtel. By then, they wouldn't be able to transact. They didn't have bilateral arrangement as the other banks did. The journey was to integrate both MTN and Airtel, and we ran it almost a year plus, like almost 16 months, to make sure the system is stable and it is serving the purpose. Back in September 2023, we started onboarding commercial banks. Reason being, commercial banks have strong muscles to implement the ISO standards, and we had to make sure we onboard participants and make sure everyone is supported. As you know, we provide also technical support for the participant to join. So all the banks, all the commercial banks are joined by 100% today. From May this year, we started onboarding fintech and microfinances. As we speak, we have two fintechs, two microfinances that have already joined the scheme, but the journey continues. As you can see, we are planning to roll out all MFI and SACCOs toward the end of this year, and we will have all of them join the scheme. Next slide, please. As you can see, all those are participants that we have live, transacting instantly, and they're enjoying the shared infrastructure. You integrate once, you communicate to everyone. We have big banks. You can see Bank of Kigali, BPR, KCB, Equity Bank, Access Bank, I&M. We have mobile money operators, Airtel and mobile money. We have Leshego and Copedu, those are the microfinances. And we have other fintechs that are completing UFT as we speak now that will join the scheme. In total, we have 15 participants that are enjoying the infrastructure.
All right. Aimable, thank you so much for giving us, this perspective on the journey. And it's amazing that in such a short time, you've been able to have so many of these stakeholders onboarded. And it's clearly building on, the inclusivity component and making sure that your system is cross-domain between the banks, the mobile money, and microfinance institutions. Though the journey is a young one from our perspective, if you're looking at it from May 2022 to now, I am certain that there have been some lessons that you can share with us, particularly with regard to inclusivity of instant payment systems. So maybe you can share some of those with us and help us understand what has worked.
Thank you, Sabine. As time is running fast, I won't take through all the challenges, but I've lighted a few of them. One of the main challenge, mobile money operators remains the majority transacting. And this shows that they have a very good number of users. As we all know, people are using mobile money than bank accounts. It means eKash is contributing to the bottom line of the pyramid, where the transaction really is getting to the low end. Initially, the system is not ranked in IPS as well. Reason being, as I explained, we are still rolling out some other use cases that would make system interesting and attract more usage. Those P2B that people and bank participants are waiting for it to be rolled out. And as I mentioned, we have other similar systems that were implemented before us. Having said that, we have bilateral engagement, we have push-pull that are still in place. But with time, with more use case coming, I think we'll shift to the inclusive instant payment system soon. So other challenges that we encountered, it's really difficult to balance profitability and utility system. We know eKash or RMDPS was government initiative, but our switch is a profit-oriented company. So running the utility side and balance it with the business to make sure we operate effectively, we cut off operation costs, had been a challenge as of now. But we are looking forward for more use cases to cut off all the operating costs. Or the representation of participants, as we said, we are very inclusive. They have been not contributing much to the go-to-market. Having said that, banks really don't push hard, but we are sure with more use case coming, they will open up and start pushing. And of course, we are looking forward for the discontinuity of bilateral engagement as we stabilize the system. Those are the main ones that I can highlight now. But we all share the journey. I will maybe wait to hear from different other colleagues to contribute.
All right. Emma, thank you very much. It really is a very, very interesting journey. And I'm hoping that my colleagues can enable the video for Vanessa. Vanessa is from Africa Nenda and sits in Rwanda and has been a very important leader in the journey that has been for eKash, and particularly also the support that Africa Nenda has provided on the ground to the team and through that journey. Vanessa, if you can hear me, please would like to hear from you in terms of sharing with us what has been the support and how this journey has gone with regard to Africa Nenda's role as well. To you, Vanessa. You are on mute.
Thank you, Sabine. I hope you can hear me. My video may not be the best quality right now, but I hope at least you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Sabine, and thank you, Amabla, for the excellent presentation. I think you've really summarized so much of what has been happening in the last couple of years in just a few slides. But I think you've really touched on the important journey that you have been walking as R-Switch. And I think for us at Africa NENDA, this has been, and it surely continues to be, an extraordinary journey, working with R-Switch and the government of Rwanda on this transformative project. I think this collaboration for us is a testament to the government's ambition and dedication to the financial transformation of the lives of many Rwandans. I think Emable mentioned that it started in 2018, and I did see someone in the comments ask why the delay between the 2018 when the conversation started and when we actually went live. I know he'll talk about that, but I think that just goes to show how much stakeholder engagement and stakeholder buy-in is very important. So those conversations started in 2018. Interestingly, in 2018, I was on the other side of the table. I was part of those conversations, and I think I've enjoyed walking through that journey over the last couple of years, wearing different hats. And I think today we are starting to see the benefits of this initiative. Our role as Africa NENDA has certainly been multifaceted, involving a lot of support towards resource mobilization, providing program implementation support, prioritizing capacity building, providing technical advisory support, and especially towards the development of the next version, and just ensuring that we build that sustainability into what we're doing, covering also the scheme operationalization aspects, making sure that we have the right, business models and business case in place. So I think in summary, what I would say is that this partnership is very, very crucial and very critical for us. I think it's a partnership that is very valuable to Africa NENDA. We have experienced firsthand what it means to implement an IIPS from scratch. There's been a lot of significant progress that has been made. And of course, I think as Emable mentioned, there's been some challenges, there's been some mistakes that have been made. But it's these challenges, it's these mistakes, it's these lessons that really make this journey enjoyable and rewarding. And it's because of this journey that we're able to document what Rwanda has been through and share these lessons, across other regions. So I think for us, we enjoy this relationship and we continue to enjoy this journey. We are in this for the long haul for sure. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. Vanessa, don't go anywhere. Please stay with us so we can all answer the questions together. Emable, I have a lot of questions that are coming from the floor, and one of them, Vanessa touched about it, but it's timeline. And again, from the research that we have done, we have seen an area of as, short as 2 years, as long as 10 years in the development of an instant payment system. It's quite a range. But I mean, there's a question about the starting in 2028 and then the pilot only happening in 2021, 22. What explains the 3 years? If you want to address that question.
Thank you, Sabine. There are two factors that contributed. One, as you all know, is COVID. It started in 2020 and towards 2022. But that's not the only factor. There are other factors that contributed. The implementation of technology and also different decision-making processes that really delayed to implement. But the main cause of the 2 years delay was because of COVID. But after we have learned a lot during that delay, and we are planning to go a little bit faster to roll out other use cases.
Thank you very much. I want to ask you a question, and then Vanessa, indulge me, because I want to ask you also questions as the questions are coming. Emab, there's a question about the use case, the person-to-business use case, how it works in terms of the billers that you're going to be onboarding in the system, and the clearing and reconciliation.
Let me take that question. There is another question that asks whether BPR or mobile money settle themselves. Our switch, as I presented on one of the slides, I think it was on slide of responsibilities. Our switch is the centralized clearing house, and we have a direct integration with the central bank. We do settle all participants at T+1. Our system does calculation of net, either you are in net position, sender or receiver. We calculate the net and then we settle the net the next day. Like we settle MTN, all the transactions they have performed, all the transactions they have received minus all the transactions they have sent. Like we settle them the net. Same will be applied for aggregators on P2B or P2M. As you know, there will be acquirers whereby if you are a merchant of MTN, means as a merchant, you receive instantly your money on your account. But the next day, again, we will settle your acquirer and as well as the issuer, whoever had paid the merchant. Same applies to the aggregators. As you know, aggregators, they don't hold value. They also work with PSPs. We'll do the same centralized settling processes whereby we settle the net at the next day. And we are also planning to do multiple settlement windows. We don't wait the next day, but it is in pipeline to be in place in if we roll out multiple other use cases.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. There's also a question about technology choices that you've made throughout the process. And I know, Vanessa, when you were talking earlier, you also mentioned that and the innovative decisions and technology choices that you've made into that ecosystem. So I'd like to hear from both of you on that question.
Vanessa, go first because you were part of
There's
it.
no way I can go faster now. You're my boss, so you go first and I'll follow you.
All right. Emma, we are waiting for you to start.
Back at the start, we purchased off-the-shelf instant payment system from one of the vendor, Latvia. And the customization was made to support P2P. And of course, there was challenges working with other people who don't understand the context of Rwanda. Like they wouldn't be able to support effectively the participants. As you all know, the ISO 202 is a new technology. It's not an easy whereby a random developer can go ahead and integrate easily. And therefore, we initiated another integration layer that was a proprietary system to our switch. From there, we onboarded all participants through integration layer. Again, it becomes quite complex running a system, a core system, and again, with other technology on top of it. So all the challenges that we have identified as we run the system, the challenge of support, the cost of the infrastructure, support and maintenance, the cost of change requests, that was really taking the majority of operation cost. And therefore, we, back 2 years ago, we evaluated Moduloop as a core system. After evaluation, there was different discussions on what we can do with it, what level of customization can we make to accommodate all our features. And thereafter, we made a decision to implement it together with African Nenda. Thank you for Vanessa. Day-to-day support, not only funding it, but also providing the knowledge and supporting the scheme to innovate around the open source system.
Excellent. Vanessa, your perspective.
Thank you, Sabine. And I think Emabde has put it right. It's been quite the journey, and I think when you look at where our switch started from, or where Rwanda started from in 2018, 2019, because I think that's when the vendor procured platform came on board. There's been a lot of changes that have happened, whether it's changes in our switch or whether it's market changes. Even as participants become, start to be more recipient to the service, to the platform, and, understanding the value that such a scheme brings, then there's a lot of demand in terms of what can we do more with the platform. So I think over time, with our switch, there was that realization that sustainability was limited. How can we service that demand? Today, there's 6 use cases that are stipulated within the blueprint, but 3 years from now, there may be 9 use cases. And when you really don't have so much control, even the speed at which you onboard new use cases is very limited. So which means even the adoption becomes limited. So that realization to address some of these challenges that were very limiting in terms of sustainability, but also the operational aspects, really. When you encounter a challenge, how quickly do you address it? How quickly do you respond to downtimes if it's a result of the technology? I think scalability, I've talked about that, but then there's also that dependency where you're depending on an external entity to service a core product or a core platform of yours, which ultimately also increases the cost of operation. I think Emabde has talked about it. And then, of course, contextualization of the service of the market. So I think with all of that, there are a lot of discussions in terms of how do we build for the future? How do we start exploring or building our own platforms? And that's how the model of conversation came in, which is where African Nenda came in as well, to just look at this open source and craft or curate the ideal solution for Rwanda, the ideal platform for Rwanda, looking at what is easier for us to understand and what can we manipulate as Rwandans. Because I think at the end of the day, what was core, as much as, yes, changing the technology was very key, but it was also building that capacity internally. If we have the right platform, then we need to be able to also operate that platform internally. And part of a lot of what we have done and what our focus has been as African Nenda is, for every aspect of the project, how do we build that capacity internally? How do we ensure that that knowledge stays within our switch and stays within Rwanda? Because it's not just our switch that will operate this platform. It's anyone else and everyone else that will benefit. It's the fintechs that will integrate. It's the participants that will integrate as well. And from doing all of this, then you have enhanced user experiences. You're able to, operationally handle whatever volumes or demands that come up. So I think, as Emabde said, there's been a lot of decisions that have been made operationally, business-wise as well, and also on a technology perspective. So it's been very interesting to, be part of crafting this whole in-house platform on what does it actually mean if we have to build it on our own, what flavors work for our switch, and how do we build the capacity internally. And I think in really a few months, probably by the end of this year, our switch should be going live with their own in-house developed IIPs, which I think for me is a very, very big win for our switch, for Rwanda, but also for this continent as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Vanessa. Emab, I'm a bit torn because we have 5 minutes left, but there's one question left that I really like to answer you. And if you can, be as succinct as you can, then we'll be able to wrap up and not keep and keep to our words with the timing. This question is really on the fintechs, particularly their onboarding, whether there's a licensing process for the fintech, there's a specific accreditation process to be able to onboard them. So please, if you can share with us a bit on that process, that would be great.
Thank you, Sabine. We onboard licensed fintech. It's not open yet, but we are planning to also do our open API, where we facilitate also general other fintechs. But for now, this journey is really concerned regulated and certified fintechs. And we have seen one of the questions on the chat, whether we certify participants. We don't certify, we rely on central bank certification because they do oversight, they also do verification of the fintech capability to be part of the scheme. We only rely on certification of central bank, and we are also planning to do the public other open API, but that use case is yet to be planned, but it's in the pipeline as well.
Wonderful. Emma, I cannot thank you enough, and the R-Switch team and all of the colleagues that have contributed. Although you are saying Vanessa and I, please know that there is a big team at Africa Nenda. We work tirelessly to make this webinar happen and to provide the support that we have seen in the different projects and working with Vanessa. I know my colleagues, Wale is on the line. I've seen you, I've seen Felista, I've seen Roseanne, and of course, I've seen also the comms team that has enabled this webinar to be a reality today. I am going to pass it on to Barry, but I just wanted to take the time to appreciate all of you and thank you very much for enabling us this learning session. It is just the beginning of the journey, and I'm looking forward to more sharing on these case studies. Barry, to you.
Well, thank you, Sabine. Looks like it was really 1 hour was not enough anyway. I think it was really interesting to hear from Emable. And for the audience, you can download the eKash case study on our website. Do not hesitate to join our community of practice to learn more about what we are doing and how we are working with the ecosystem. I also want to let you know that it's a series. So this is the first one. The next one will be on the 15th of August, and we will deep dive into the Malawi payment system, not switch. So if you haven't registered yet, please do it. We will share the link in the chat. And then finally, follow us on social media, whether you are on Twitter, LinkedIn, or YouTube even. We have nice videos to watch. Thank you very much, and reach out to us for any question. Here is our email address. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you very much. And while I was mentioning my colleagues, I also see Felista, I see John, I see Teddy. Thank you, all the teams, for all the support internally. And of course, Amable, thank you very much to you and to the R-Switch team for all the collaboration and all the support and making this learning session a reality. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.